Hi everyone, today we are talking about all the books that I read in January, just doing a quick little recap, and I'm excited because there were some pretty good books in there. So let's get started and pass more books. So the first book that I read and finished in January is, of course, Wind and Truth. Here it is. We'll just leave it there. You can probably see it pretty good there. And wow, it was great. And I have a lot of thoughts that I'm still processing. I'm trying to get them somewhat together so I can give a spoiler review. But I'll give just kind of some spoiler-free thoughts right now. I overall really enjoyed it. And I've been hearing that there's some mixed reviews coming out about it, and I've been trying to not really look at the reviews because I just want to get my thoughts out before I get biased by all the reviews out there. But I want to say, for anybody who's thinking how could you like it so much? You're an editor. I think part of the reason why I did really overall enjoy it is because I am such an epic fantasy girly. That is just my genre. And I reread the first 4 books plus the novellas right before I read this, and it was just such an epic journey that overall I just had such a good time with getting to the story, getting immersed in the world again, and I was just in my epic fantasy story groove. So and this is also coming from a girl who read The Wheel of Time for the first time in high school and did not think that there was a slog in the middle. I did not know that people considered The Wheel of Time to have a slog. I just thought it was all good. I mean, maybe not all good. I had little complaints here and there, but I was engaged the whole time. I didn't get bored. I love the long pacing of epic series like this, and I love having a big cast of characters and having really epic climaxes. Hey, sweetie, what is it?
We have a snack.
Yeah, you can go get a food snack. Anyway, so I just think I was really in the best mood possible to read this book and love it. I think that's one thing that had going for it. So overall, I did feel like the pacing was mostly fine. I think occasionally things felt a little bit choppy with having to go back and forth between so many perspectives, but I also know that's a really hard thing to balance when you have so many perspectives. I think there were some moments when I felt more interested in certain characters than others. I remember early on in the beginning with Kaladin, I was I don't know if I can get behind, I don't know if I care enough about what you're doing right now, but I think by day 4 I was okay, I'm with you, Kaladin. Let's go. Let's do this. I was with Adolan pretty much the whole time, just super excited, and kind of wish that things had turned out a little bit differently, what I've been hoping for with him. But for the most part, I think I was still overall really satisfied and excited about it. I remember being slightly disappointed with Navani, just wishing that she had more to do and more to experience, and she was definitely valuable where she was, but I just kept thinking there was just more for her to do. I don't know, I just wish we'd seen somehow more from her, but I understand also that most of her growth had to happen in Rhythm of War, and what we got from her in Rhythm of War was really good. I also really enjoyed things that happened with Renarin. I think I somehow wish I'd gotten, again, something bigger for him to do. He was doing a lot for sure, but also, I don't know, I was waiting to really see his full potential, and I feel like we got a glimpse of his full potential, but didn't actually get to see it in action. So I feel, I guess, a little bit conflicted. I liked it, but I needed more. I hope he's going to be doing a lot of cool things in the next half of the series, because I think he has so much potential and he's so cool. So, but I did really enjoy getting to be in his perspective a lot. Also, really overall enjoyed the flashbacks. Once in a while, I was this chapter might not be necessary, but not honestly. The flashbacks I think were way better than in Rhythm of War, because Rhythm of War, so many of them felt like I've already seen this play out in the interludes of the other books, But the flashbacks were so informative overall and interesting, and just helped you understand Seth more. So cool. I do remember feeling a little bit disappointed by just, I didn't feel as immersed in the world and the setting as in previous books, but I forgive it because I understand how fast the pacing in this book had to be, because there was so much going on, so many days to cover. So I'm forgiving it, but it's also slightly disappointing because world building is one of my favorite things to be immersed in these books. I really enjoyed the foreshadowing that happened in this book and how things came together at the end. And there were definitely some moments where I was devastated in the best way possible. There were some moments where I was like excited and ecstatic in the best way possible. There were so many good things, so many good moments, and I'm so glad that I got to start my year off with this book. I had also started reading Edgedancer right before I started Wind and Truth on Christmas, and I left it like 10 pages unfinished because I opened Wind and Truth on Christmas Day and wanted to dive right in, and I should have just finished Edgedancer real quick right before because I had like 10 pages left. So I finished Edgedancer like right after Wind and Truth. So that's technically a book that I read in January. But I kind of want to count it as a December book. It was fun. It was good. I appreciate getting to see a different setting and the reminder of just how important Lift is going to be in the future, I guess. So the next book that I read in January was Half a King by Joe Abercrombie. And I read this with my book club, and we're meeting just in a couple days to talk about it. And I have been wanting to read Joe Abercrombie for a really long time because I've heard amazing things about him, but I've always just been nervous that he's a little bit too dark for me. So I wanted to start with his YA series because I figured it'd be a little bit lighter, a little bit safer. And I was right that it wasn't too dark for me, which I'm really excited about. And it gives me hope that maybe I can enjoy his other books. I overall had a good time with it. So the book follows Yarvi, a young man who is a prince, and his left hand is crippled. It's like deformed. He has a thumb and like a stub of a finger, and it's just deformed like that. And he is often called like half a person because of that, because he only has one real functioning hand. And he has an older brother who is in line for the throne, and so he's never had to really prepare. Oh, and they live in a very Viking-inspired world where warfare is pretty common. It's expected that the king is going to be somebody who can fight in a war with his soldiers. So Yarvi has never really focused on training because he doesn't really have the strength to fight very well, but he has studied to be a minister, or basically an advisor to the king. So the story begins where he is about to take his test to become a real full minister, and then he finds out that his father and his brother have both tragically died, and now suddenly he's the king, and he's like, I wasn't supposed to be the king. And who's going to take me seriously because I'm like half a king, right? And then things just kind of escalate and go crazy from there, and he goes on quite the unexpected journey. And I love the twists and turns that this story took. I don't want to give away too many spoilers, I guess. I love how Yarvi in some ways almost changed imperceptibly. I feel like his changes came slowly, where he started to believe in himself more and find strength in different ways. And I thought there was a pretty good cast of characters. Maybe there wasn't like a ton of diversity, but I felt like the characters were all generally pretty interesting and compelling. For instance, this one character in the beginning, if I had heard that he was going to die, I wouldn't have like thought much of it. But then by the time he actually came to his death, I was like, oh no. Now I care about this character. You can't kill him, you know? So just things like that where people kind of change slowly over time. You start to get to know them. I think that was really well done. I think the one thing that I wish had been handled a little differently near the end was that I feel like there was this theme kind of coming forward about the necessary for warfare and killing, and how it's not beautiful, it's not glorious. It's tragic, really, to fight a war, even if it's for a just cause. But in the end, it felt like there was no lesson of, you can do things in other ways too. You can negotiate, or be kind, or, you know, there was no real lesson of what you could do besides start a war. And so that was slightly disappointing to me. Okay, my little baby would not stay quietly in her bassinet, so here she is joining me for the end of the video. And that was pretty much what I wanted to say, I think, about Half a King. Yeah. I think it was pretty well paced, good characters, good action, good writing. I think a good setting if you're in the mood for like Viking inspired world building, right? I just wish that the themes had played out a little bit more in a satisfying way, but I know there's like 2 more books in the series. I don't know if I want to continue. I might try to continue eventually. I just know that the second book picks up with a different character as the main viewpoint, and Yarvi, he seems like more of a secondary character who we might not really get his perspective very much, which is fine if we don't really get Yarvi's perspective that much. But I don't know if I'm in the mood to just like start with another person's perspective yet with that series. So I think eventually I'll probably continue, but I don't know if I'm ready to continue yet. And I hope that if I do continue, whenever that happens, that the themes kind of come together in a more satisfying way. Maybe there's a bigger arc throughout the series of people learning more lessons along those lines, but I don't know. The other book that I've been reading for the majority of January, let's see if I can reach it, Dragonflight by Anne McCaffrey from the Dragon Riders of Pern series. And I've been really enjoying it. I am not quite done yet. As you can see, still got a bookmark in there, but I'm almost done, and it's been really enjoyable so far. I remember just opening up to the prologue and being like, I was not expecting there to be like space elements in this, but I'm all here for it. And I remember just like reading the prologue and being like, wow, this got intense like right away from page 1 of the prologue, and I am here for the ride. It's definitely an interesting, it's an older book published in like the 90s or 80s, I think. And the writing style reminds me a little bit of like Dune and Lord of the Rings. And you are squirming. So you have to be prepared for a kind of a different writing style for that read. But there's a lot that I appreciate about it. I have a lot of thoughts about things that I can just see the evolution of editing through this book, which is really, really fascinating. I just think it'd be cool to take like a deep dive into like all the things that I'm noticing as an editor, and like things that would not have come through in this book if it had been edited today, you know? But I can also see why it was such an inspiration for so many fantasy writers during its time. Like I can see why it's one of like the classic fantasy novels. So it's been fun. I'm excited to finish it up this next month, February. Anyway, that was pretty much my reading for January. Not like a ton of different books, but I mean, hello, Wind and Truth was 1,400 pages. So it was like reading a lot of different books. But yeah, that was that. And I'm excited to see you all for what I read in February. And I would love to hear what you've been reading in January, what you're reading now as you get into February, things you're loving, if you've read the books that I have, and if you have thoughts on them. No spoilers, please, for Wind and Truth right now, because it's still pretty recent. And I think that's that. Let's go past more books. See ya.